Hi,
Hello.
welcome to our show.
So this is our path to plant-based, how our journey went down, and I owe it all to you. Yeah, pretty much. I'd still be like eating meat and dairy, I think, if it wasn't for you. So
Well,
tell me, how did you start? Like, how did it all begin for you?
when I met you, you were a big hot dog and hamburger guy, so I kind of went all the way to your side. But before I started dating you, I was always trying to be as vegetarian as possible. I went through a few years of being very strictly vegetarian, and it was only when because my diet was like it wasn't because I was eating not eating meat, but I wasn't eating a really proper diet, so I was anemic, and
It's
then
just iron deficient.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was always like, I had a big guilt about eating animals, but I just didn't know there was really a possibility for me to not. So I sort of, it was like I lived with this guilt where I wouldn't buy it at home. I didn't like buying it, but if someone was making it, I would feel guilty not eating it, and I would just like eat it because I felt like I needed it for the health. So
Yeah.
when I met you, it was like I actually started to like really, when you meet someone, it's like new love, and you just want to like be easygoing, and I just like kind of like indulged in it with you. Like it felt
Yeah.
comforting to just like gorge on like ribs and like do kind of like
Yeah, and my
things
mentality
like that.
was
Like
just like I didn't really have like any guilt or anything. I was just kind of like, whatever, it tastes good. Like I'm not gonna eat just a salad or some side dishes. Like I want like meals.
yeah, classic.
Yeah,
How people
because and most of the time that's the way it is. It's just like you don't know about the options. So
Yeah, so
it's in
then
the dark.
yeah, I was always trying to like I went all the way to your side, and I started to experience actually like, we started to get some joined ailments like eczema that were like I think from anyway, we were just like I noticed in my body because I kind of like I really lowered my diet because your mom was cooking for us like every day, and I would eat cakes every day, and like
Yeah, a
all the
lot
stuff
of
that I wasn't normally like really like used to.
just so much chicken. Like,
So much chicken on
yeah.
her barbecue. It was just like every day was just like barbecue skewers of meat. That was like what I feel like we lived on, and then also being in Montreal, we're surrounded with smoked meat and steamies, all this like junky meat stuff, which
Yeah.
is like
And
delicious because it's salty and fatty, and
Yeah.
like obviously it's gonna taste good. So
It's like everywhere you look, it's like there's meat. Like there's like a smiling chicken on a billboard, and like
it's all like marketed for kids, they want
Yeah.
to show it friendly, and like it's really just
Yeah, and it's like all traditions. Like any family meal, you have like a meat focal point.
Yeah.
It's the turkey or it's
we just thought that would be impossible not to, but then I actually thought that would be impossible at that point still, like
Yeah.
even like raising kids, I was like, how are we gonna, like they're exposed to it everywhere, like there's no way. I kind of gave up on even trying, and then we watched the documentary Cowspiracy together,
Conspiracy. Yeah,
and that
And What the Health.
well, yeah, but then after came What the Hell. So I think like so Cowspiracy like sort of woke me up to see that maybe like all this marketing and stuff, and I don't know, like all
It's
these.
just a different perspective, like
Yeah.
where you're like. We always think that you need meat to be healthy, right? Like if she's anemic and she's prescribed like blood pills at a certain point just to keep her iron levels up, and they're telling her like you need meat, like you should be eating like red meat as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then her levels still were dropping.
Yeah.
With the meat. And it's
Yeah,
like,
I was always anemic. I thought that was just part of life, but I was eating meat just to keep me afloat, basically, I thought. And then when we saw What the Health, and I learned that it's not even healthy, that's when we both, because it's important to watch it together. Like, if I had just watched it and tried to communicate everything I learned to you, you
Yeah.
wouldn't hear it.
Right.
So I think like really important when people watch a movie without their spouse or friend, something like it's important
Support,
to watch in unit, like together, and to feel it's just more powerful.
Yeah, or else you're kind of on your own, and it's like that loss of control again, where you're just like entrusting this industry to keep you healthy and to provide your food. Like we for so long, it's like you're depending on like an industry for food, and it's like that doesn't really make
profit
sense.
driven.
Yeah,
it's not nutrition driven or
they're
what's
more
best for
interested
you. No.
in their
They're
shareholders.
actually tied in with the cancer, like what we learned in Cowspiracy and what the health is, how they all benefit each other. Like how the pharmaceutical industry benefits from cancer, like from the big illnesses, and the food industry feeds that, and it's just.
But the fact is like they're just they're making money based off our demands. Like the society at large demands meat. We have a huge demand for meat
because they have us all hooked.
Yeah,
they have us all hooked on the salt and the fat, like that.
Yeah, and it's like. The hardest thing is to shift your choices, shift your demand away from that, and forcing the powers that be to make better decisions about.
Okay, but back to where we started. So when you watch it together, you hold the hold
each other accountable.
Well, when we watched it together, we were both in the same mind frame after, and it's pretty hard after you watch that movie to just like forget about it and say I'm just going to go back to eating animals, because I think most of us feel guilty internally. We just don't know it. But to see it confirmed that we don't need to participate in these atrocities, then it becomes very different. So when we watched it together, we decided together to do a 30-day
vegan challenge.
Yeah, a 30-day
just to try it.
Vegan challenge. And
that made it more accessible for me, because to all of a sudden cold turkey, for lack of a better expression, to give up meat, it's like that was like a little too daunting. I probably would have regressed, but to say like, okay, 30 days, whatever, it's a month, like you can do it. And
I was at home still at that time, so I was cooking more, which I see that as like some people when they feel that it's really because there's maybe more food prep involved. Like I would say that was just because at the beginning it was trial and error, and I was like, if I could provide people with just like 30 easy tried, tested, and true recipes like that, I think I would like to actually provide everybody with that. So that's something that would have saved me having to like do so much research and try so many different things and see, I think like for the 30 days it was good because like you said, it was just 30 days, and I thought, okay, I just need to have 30 good meals that are plant-based. And then anyway, when you have that control over the food you're making, it's a lot easier. The problems I think came when like we would eat at a friend's house or eat at parents' house or eat at a restaurant that had nothing vegetarian, which is like you go to certain places and there's just zero. Like you could eat some bread if you want, but like always salad.
And then there's like confrontational things with like family where you're like, look, I'm sorry that you went through the trouble of making this meal, but like we don't eat this now, and it's like
you take it personally.
Yeah, and that's hard because like you don't want to feel like a bad guy because you're making this choice.
We're trying to just do the best we can with what we know, because you do the best you can with what you know, and when you know more, you do better, and that's just how we live. So. Yeah. It was hard for people to grapple with that. I'm not insulting them. Mm-hmm. Like, this is just my journey and this is our choice.
Yeah.
And the fact that because veganism, so the difference between plant-based and veganism is plant-based is a diet that vegans eat. Yeah. So veganism is actually the movement. It's the activist movement. So there is kind of no such thing as a quiet vegan. Then you're just plant-based. But when you're a vegan, you're usually pretty vocal about it because we're trying to make change here. So I think that there's like a sort of like a confusion around that. Like, why do vegans have to say what they're eating all the time? Or like, it's like, well, because we're trying to change the world. Mm-hmm. Like, we're actually really, really hard trying to, like, liberate animal slavery.
Yeah, right. Because, like, the activism comes into play. Even if you're, like, aren't really vocal about it, the activism is you making a choice to shift demand away from meat.
Like, a minimum respect that a vegan doesn't, like, don't take it personally that they're not eating your food. Just, like, honor that they're doing something good. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe you're not ready for it, but don't ever think it's like an insult,
Like, there's people, like, I imagine, like, a butcher or a restaurateur who's very meat focused, or if you're, like, you're in an industry that's depending on animals.
Yeah, it's your livelihood.
Like then, you're apprehensive towards vegans and plant-based because it's threatening your livelihood. Yeah. And it's like, But the fact is like when, Ford introduced cars, like all the horse and buggy and the people that clean up horse shit were threatened and like were losing their jobs. But
that was a really big deal at the time.
It's progress. So like you got to suck it up and make better choices.
Like we're going to look back and say like, we were trying to pander to like the slaughterhouse workers and the like factory farmers and coal miners, like people who are like doing like like we should be bringing them up to the new way of doing things, and they should be having greenhouses and doing different things that are more in line with progress. Instead of we shouldn't be regressing because we don't want to.
For sure. Like when you transition to plant-based, like what's good is like there is a lot of support. Like you found like a good community on Facebook, right?
I actually had to make so I did find a good community, but in where we were living, I didn't know anyone who was vegan too, so I needed to have support. So I created, in the area that we were living, I created St. Henry Vegan, which it was like cool. When you need, like, necessity is the mother of all invention. So basically when you need something, you have to create it yourself, and the community doesn't always exist in every city. And we were in Quebec, in that rural area where it looked like we were aliens when we said we were vegan, so I can imagine someone going vegan in that area would need to, because community is everything. So if you don't find it in where you live, you have to find it in other ways. So online, there's an amazing vegan community online. It's so fun.
That's actually people all over the world kind of coming together, and it's really great.
It's beautiful. It's like, actually, I find a barometer of, I mean, there are some bad eggs, for lack of, also all our expressions are
turkeys and eggs,
but there are some definite rotten eggs in the vegan community too. So I'm obviously not painting everything with one brush, because I've come across. But as a general, like as a barometer, you're gonna find the most kind, well, obviously just by nature they're kind because they don't want to hurt the planet and animals. So you're just like a barometer of kindness in the vegan community that I love, and open-mindedness and progress mindedness.
And I witnessed it too. What I think though is what happened is, like, when you're on Facebook or social media and you're surrounded by vegans, it's great because there's that support, but there's this silo thing that happens where you forget about people who are transitioning to vegan or who are carnivores, and like they, like, I think what's really important is that how we align together. And I just want to say that, like, whether you love meat or you're vegan, we're all against factory farming. Like, there's no one in the world who's like, who wants to be like, who would watch animal abuse, like spy videos of factory farming, and be okay with that. Like, nobody wants. We need to end that atrocity now, right? So, in order to do that, we have to start shifting demand, and it's like you forget that there's all these meat eaters out there, omnivores, who are just like unaware, and they don't know what they could do to end this, to make steps towards ending it, because it seems too big,
they say, the thing is, like, a lot of people hide behind the I buy organic or I buy free range because they don't, it makes them feel better, but you're not, when you actually do research, the companies that are, if you actually just take, like, I think it's so important for us to know where our food comes from. And that's why actually in the vegan movement, it made me so much more aware of even some fruits and vegetables are not vegan because they're unethical. Like, there's unethical practices going on with the monkeys with the coconuts, but that's not even, like, I'm not even talking about just directly with animals, but with people. Like, there are like the Dole bananas, they spray so much that the humans who work for these plants all die of cancer. Like, it's like 100% you'll die of cancer if you work for them. And I mean, watch this documentary on Dole. It's crazy. And then there's like the pineapples in Costa Rica are like unethical. Like they use also a ton of spray and stuff. So the more that, like, when you become aware of ethics, like, when you actually, so whether you're a meat eater or vegan, I mean, it's really important that you're aware of
Yeah.
sources, where things come from, and you do research. You don't just kind of blindly follow marketing ads. You actually have to do research.
Make informed decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And like we're
Where our
nobody's
money
perfect,
goes is
yeah.
that's who we're supporting. When that's how.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why they're forced to do like massive tree clearing for palm oil and like
Yeah.
you know, it's because everyone is demanding like fast food and you know they're
Cheap
basing it on the
meat and-
tastes of that. And so if we more and more shift away from that, the better the world, like we're gonna make positive change.
Yeah, well, that's why even as a vegan, we have to source where we get our like our superfoods, which is actually what helped completely satisfy all our nutritional needs as a vegan.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's really what I hate seeing is people who go vegan and they don't do it right, and then they go back to eating meat because they said they didn't feel good. Or I shouldn't say they tried veganism. You don't just try vegan. Like, that's a different thing. But when you try plant-based,
Right.
and you don't have the conviction, like the real passion for the vegan movement, if you're not doing it right, if you're not doing it
like you just like cut out meat and then all you're left with are like the noodles and the like whatever.
there's a lot of junk
sides,
food that's vegan that tastes delicious. But if you're just going to live on processed soy and fried shit and salty and whatever, all that crap that they
you're not going to feel good. Yeah, you're going to feel worse.
You're going to feel worse. You're going to look like shit, and you are not going to do good for the vegan movement. I'm sorry, but when you look like shit, if you're all like pimply and pasty, and no one's going to want to do what you're doing. So that was really important as like part of our journey to plant-based, was doing research to find what exactly our body needs. Me being iron deficient, I had to make sure, and Rhea was also my eldest daughter is iron deficient. She was iron deficient, and I had to make sure, because if anything happened with them, they're going to look to the vegan mom first, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And if anything happened to you, your mother would have my head.
Yeah.
So it's like I had a lot of pressure to make sure that we were all going to do this right.
Yeah, exactly. And like what's great about like the superfoods that we take, which is like wheatgrass and oatgrass, and it's dehydrated immediately after it's grown, so there's no transportation, and it's just you're getting all the benefits. So like we don't have to worry about nutrition anymore, because we get most of it from the superfood, and then everything else.
We're eating tons of fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, exactly. So
we try to eat, especially like now I'm on a raw cleanse, so I'm taking it to another level, because that's what happens when you go down these rabbit holes.
Yeah, you just kind of like
it just keeps getting better and better.
Yourself towards
and I'm following people who are like I'm sure that most people think right now, who are not vegan, they think I'm like pretty extreme on my friends list. They don't participate much in my engagement and stuff, but if they knew who I was following, I'm following a lot of like fruitarians and breatharians, and just people who take like fasting, and just people who just take health to a more experimental level. And not that I'm doing those things. I try things for myself because that's how I learn. But I like to be, I love to see what other people are doing. And that's why I'm sharing this, because hopefully that could, be another level. Because there's so many levels of health. Like, we thought we were super healthy. I've thought many times in my life, I am so healthy and so clean. And then you learn something new, and then you adapt and you get even healthier.
Yeah,
and
it's just a self-betterment thing, like nobody's perfect. And like, I feel that like vegans, plant-based people, like they get profiled unfairly, that like, oh, you think you're better than me or whatever. No, but it's like the fact is,
they're just on
like,
their journey.
Yeah, we're like, we could do a lot of things better. We still like waste quite a bit. We drive a car that has gas. And
we're working on all of these things. That's our mission as vegans. It's to be really like the lifestyle. We want to be as zero waste as possible. So every day we're learning new ways to cut back on our waste, and we're striving to go towards as much zero waste. We got rid of a lot. We got rid of our second car. We're trying to, we want to make money to be able to afford an electric car eventually, because I don't want to, I don't even drive that car anymore. It freaks me out. I walk everywhere and I take public transport.
So you're just like contributing less to something that overall nobody wants.
The sharing economy, like the everything being like social sharing. So you're taking out middlemen, you're taking out transport, like you were saying. It doesn't have to go from the the farm to another factory to another grocery store, then to your house. Like this way, we're getting everything. Find places where you can get, directly farm to family. Well, the packaging is all biodegradable, which is awesome. We always have our reusable cups with us. We never buy out. We never buy disposable.
Yeah. And it just feels like you make these minor shifts, which like normally you'd feel like, oh, it's so inconvenient. I got to carry
it's a
like
work
a
in
straw
progress.
with me everywhere. It's like, no, I mean, yeah, it sounds annoying, but you start doing it, and it's like it's awesome. Like you start to feel better. And I think what happened was going plant-based. Like not only did cutting out dairy change my health radically, like I don't have allergies anymore. I lost weight. Like I was never able to lose this weight that I had, and it was just like inflammation and like poor gut health. So like immediately your mind, there's a mental shift, and I think it's like no longer carrying that guilt of knowing like where your meat comes from, and it's a shared thing that we all have to do together.
Yeah. We all have to feel empowered. At the end of the day, I think people put their faith in the system way too much in our society, and it's all about people. The powers that be want to take away our empowerment, and that is like with the internet age, we have access to so much information and connecting with community who are like-minded, who want to make the world a better place. Like that's been so inspiring to just connect with people all over the world who just want to like put our brains together
and figure out
how to make changes, how to make the world a better place, how to save the planet, like real things, that we feel empowered suddenly that we could be a part of.
Yeah. And I think, and if you're thinking about going plant-based, or if you like, if you just eat like a little bit of fish or whatever, like, and you want to go plant-based, try 30 days. And we'll put a link below to some great meal ideas, and just how you could supplement it with superfoods if you're worried about your health.
Yeah, there's a cure in nature for everything.
Yeah, exactly. There's always a natural way, and it's always better. And because medical stuff, it's a Band-Aid solution a lot of the time. So
yeah, and don't always listen to doctors, because they don't always, like, there's a lot of doctors out there who say nutrition has nothing to do with health, and there's we know nutritionists who don't even.
Meanwhile, like the obesity rates and cancer rates are higher than ever. So
yeah, and they're all like diet related illnesses. Like a lot of people who are dying of heart attacks and all these things that could be so prevented with just like a plant-based diet. It's
watch
so
What the Health.
Yeah, watch What the Health, and watch it with a partner. And try 30 days. Anyone could do anything for 30 days. And challenging yourself is, by the way, also an amazing empowerment thing, because you can prove to yourself something. It's
really rewarding.
Yeah.
So
and like I never thought I could turn this guy vegan. So anyone can go. You just have to pull them in. I think we did it really with love, and yeah,
exactly. It's not scary. It's like it's the best. So
yeah,
please do it.
Thank you.